So here's a summary of Parashat Bemidbar, the beginning of the fourth book of Chumash. Moshe Rabbeinu finished the dedication of the Mishkan on the 1st of Nisan in the year 2449. 1 month later, Hashem told Moshe to count the Jews who were between 20 and 60 years old. As this was 30 days after the Shekhinah, God's presence, rested on the Mishkan and was permanently resting there, they were counted again to prove the pure descent of Klal Yisrael so that the divine presence could remain among them. Each Jew was counted by giving a half shekel coin, as we spoke about in Parashat Kitisa. We're not allowed to count people, 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. So they were counted by the half shekel. And the Nesi'im, the princes, helped with the counting. Each Jew individually received a bracha from Moshe, Aharon, and the Nesi'im. When the Jews came into Mitzrayim, they numbered only 70 people altogether. And now, after counting all the tribes, their total was 603,550. And these were only the men who were between the ages of 20 and 60. It's a tremendous chesed that Hashem did by increasing our numbers so greatly over such a short time. The only tribe that was not counted with the rest of the Jews was the tribe of Levi. In the desert, there were 3 different camps. The first camp was called Machane Shekhinah, the area of the Mishkan, the tabernacle. Around this was Machane Leviah, where the Kohanim and Leviim lived. And around that camp, the outermost camp, was Machane Yisrael, where all the other Shevatim lived. The tribes were divided into 4 groups and were camped like a box around the Mishkan. Each of the 4 camps had its own flag, which had on it 3 colors. These colors were the colors of the stones of the Choshen that represented the 3 Shevatim of that camp. The 4 heads of the camps were, number 1, Degel Machane Yehuda. In this group, there was also Shevet Yisachar and Zevulun, with Yehuda being the leader. They camped on the east of the Mishkan, and they traveled first. On their flag was a lion. The second head of the camp was Degel Machane Reuven. In this group were also Shevet Shimon and Shevet Gad. They camped on the south of the Mishkan, and they traveled second. On their flag was a deer. The third head of the camp was Degel Machane Ephraim. In this group was also Shevet Menashe and Shevet Binyamin. They camped on the west of the Mishkan, and they traveled third. On their flag was a young bull. And lastly is Degel Machane Dan. In this group were also Shevet Asher and Shevet Naphtali. They camped on the north of the Mishkan and traveled last. On their flag was a snake. According to some Mefarshim, when the Shevatim traveled, they were in a line, and Shevet Yehuda was in the front, and Shevet Dan was in the back. After Moshe Rabbeinu counted the 12 tribes, he was commanded to count Shevet Levi. Although the rest of Klal Yisrael were only counted from the ages of 20 to 60, Shevet Levi was counted from 1 month and up. When Moshe Rabbeinu counted all the Leviim, they totaled only 22,300. This was the smallest of all the tribes, even though they were counted from 1 month. Since Shevet Levi didn't work in Egypt, they weren't enslaved in Mitzrayim, they weren't given the bracha of multiplying so fast. Yaakov Avinu's son, Levi, had 3 sons, Gershon, Kehat, and Merari. When the Jews traveled, each of these families had a special job in carrying the parts of the Mishkan. Gershon, or the family of Gershon, carried the woven materials. The family of Kehat carried the kelim, the utensils, and the parochet. And the family of Merari carried the wooden poles and sockets. Until the sin of the Chet Egel, the golden calf, the Bechorim, firstborns, were meant to be the ones to do the service in the Mishkan. However, when they sinned by the Egel, this right was taken away from them and was exchanged onto the Leviim, because the Leviim did not sin by the Egel. Lastly, only the Leviim who were between the ages of 30 and 50 were allowed to carry the objects of the Mishkan. The Kelim were not allowed to be carried on wagons. Rather, they were to be carried on the shoulders of the family of Kehat. Before they were carried, they were first wrapped by the Kohanim with special wrappings, as they were so holy. The Leviim were not even allowed to directly touch or even look at these kelim.